Voici la danse la plus difficile au monde, la danse Zaouli. Originaire de la Côte d'Ivoire, cette danse spectaculaire est une véritable merveille de la culture bourreau. Réalisée avec un masque coloré, souvent représentant une figure féminine mythique, le Zaouli est bien plus qu'une simple performance. Ce qui rend le Zaouli exceptionnel, c'est la complexité de ses mouvements. Le danseur, en tenue traditionnelle, exécute des pas rapides et fluides qui semblent défier les lois de la gravité. Les mouvements de ses pieds, en particulier, sont d'une précision incroyable, presque surnaturelle. Accompagnée par un ensemble de tambours et d'instruments traditionnels, la danse Zaouli est un véritable spectacle de rythme et d'énergie. Elle est souvent pratiquée lors de cérémonies importantes, telles que les fêtes communautaires ou les rites de passage, renforçant l'unité et la cohésion sociale. Inscrite en 2017 sur la liste du patrimoine culturel.
5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, discovered that ancestral memory survives in the blood. Something I've always known, and certainly in Voodoo, we've always sort of acted as if we knew. We didn't say it that way, but we're talking to the dead. We're communicating with the ancestors. I got a whole room of dead people living upstairs and, off my bedroom. So certainly through demonstration, we've always understood that. Big Mama, Big Papa, they don't leave you. They're transitions now into another dimensional space. And I am an avid quantum metaphysical student. And I believe it was Einstein that started developing string theory and said that in order for this to be real, we have to be operating in at least 11 interdimensional spaces at once. Time is only just one of those spaces. So we're all time travelers, and we're all moving back and forth in the past, into the future, based on our awareness, based on our training, and I might even say based on our willingness to some degree. You can be blocked enough, fearful enough to shut down your connection to the spirit realm and just not see and just be in denial of what's happening, or what I call be earthbound, be so grounded that you can't fly at all. You can't operate in the spirit realm at all.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. This Monday, it is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. Powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Vodou Day. The core mission of NOIVD exists to restore rightful dignity, authority, and global recognition to the Vodou, and Voodoo family of traditions. The mission, purpose, and motive behind New Orleans International Vodou Day forms a single, coherent vision to protect, unify, and elevate Vodou, and Voodoo as living world traditions with deep ancestral, cultural, and spiritual authority. This mission frames NOIVD not as a festival, but as a cultural embassy for Vodou worldwide. NOIVD responds to the urgent needs of this very moment, a time when Voodoo is simultaneously sought after while misunderstood and yet misrepresented. Its purpose unfolds across several dimensions. NOIVD exists to protect the traditions from harm. NOIVD confronts misrepresentation in the media, exploitation by uninitiated practitioners, cultural theft and commodification, historical trauma, and colonial narratives. By establishing standards of authenticity, NOIVD becomes a shield for the traditions and the communities that carry them forward. NOIVD serves as a platform for public teaching, ceremonial demonstrations, scholarly dialogue, youth and community education, and it ensures that what the world learns about voodoo comes from real practitioners and not stereotypes or outsiders. We continue to invite your continued support, participation, visitation, promotion of these events, donations, and sponsorship of this powerful legacy and expanding international endeavor. Please continue to visit us for connection and more information about participating, volunteering, and supporting our symposium, our Afro Ecology exhibit, our art exhibit on Saturday, May 23rd, and our sacred procession from the river to Congo Square, where we will be in ceremony on Sunday, May 24th. We are also thankful for your continued support and participation on all social media platforms, and for those who participate and support this podcast live in chat and always in archive at your leisure and convenience. Do join us live on platform with your mic, camera, or your avatar photo by way of the QR code in the upper left corner of your screen or our scrolling URL code at the bottom of your screen. Please continue to contact us for more information and support at voodooday.org, VODOUDAY.org. Our NOIVD QR code is at the bottom right corner of your screen. And tonight we begin a new conversation, a new 5-day series, The Spirits of New Orleans, both old, present, and new. Certainly old, but the new and that which will be moving forward. And we're always grateful for the continued support and participation of our beloved co-hosts, panelists, our beloved Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez, community activist, community mother, community resource person, and certainly community agitator. We certainly are grateful and honored by your continued support and participation. We're certainly grateful and thankful for our online participation from Shahid Ali, a common participant and long-term participant in my platform, but also now supporting us in our NOIVD endeavors. And we're certainly grateful for the continued support and participation of our first priest, armor bearer, Black Hawk Voodoo Wildman, and co-administrator of NOIVD, as well as an initiated member of the Source on Chien on 4. We're certainly grateful for your continued support, Brother Joshua Nyland Tanner and Elder Reggie. We identify here as Green Soap, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, co-administrator of NOIVD, and faithful participant and contributor to this powerful Monday through Friday weeknights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time podcast. And my second priest and godchild, as well as an initiated member of the Source Anshin on 4, our executive producer and director of Respect the Voodoo, our beloved Tyson Allen Horn. Again, we certainly are thankful for all of you taking time away from your family and schedule to be here and be a part of this platform as we move NOIVD closer to our annual date. This will be our third annual New Orleans International Vodou Day. And we look forward to hugging the necks of our beloved family members from Benin and West Africa, our beloved Haitian community, as well as the diasporic community that shows up and supports us and participates in this powerful event. Tonight, we want to again reintroduce to some and introduce to others a new but ongoing topic, the spirits of New Orleans, both old and new. Invoking the spirits of New Orleans. Family, my beloved, my people here in the room, and my people listening across the world. Welcome tonight. Sit close, listen in, because we are not dealing in myth, rumor, or Hollywood fantasy. Tonight, we're walking through the documented, recorded, historic accounts of voodoo, hoodoo, root work, and conjure in the city of New Orleans. The real thing, the lived thing, the thing our ancestors practiced in broad daylight, long before the world tried to hide it in the shadows. New Orleans is not a city that adopted voodoo. New Orleans is a city that was shaped by it. And the archives, the newspapers, the court records, travel journals, the police reports, the WPA interviews, the ethnographies, they all tell the same story. Voodoo was here, hoodoo was here, conjure was here. And the people were not whispering about it, they were living it. As early as the 1700s, the earliest documented mention of African spiritual practices in New Orleans appear in colonial records from the early 1700s. And when the French were still trying to figure out what this place was going to be, officials wrote about enslaved Africans gathering on Sundays, not just to dance, but to pray, invoke, heal, and remember. They described drumming they could not understand, languages they could not translate, and ceremonies they could not control. But the early 1800s, travelers were writing in their journals about the gatherings at Congo Square, the singing, the circle dances, the charms, the gree, the healing bundles, the divination. These were not secret rituals. These were public, documented, witnessed. And the city knew this was not superstition. This was a spiritual system. Then we saw the rise of the voodoo queens. By the 1930s, by the 1830s and 1840s, the newspapers of New Orleans were filled with names that that still echo today. Marie Laveau, Marie Salopé, Sanette Dede, Rosalie, Bridget, Queen of the Swamp, and others whose names were recorded only in fragments. The Daily Picayune, the Bee, the Times Democrat, they all wrote about these women, sometimes with fear, sometimes with fascination, but always with acknowledgement. They documented public ceremonies on the lakefront, healing rituals performed for the sick, court cases where gree bags were entered into evidence, police raids on St. John's Eve gatherings, testimonies from clients who swore their lives had been changed. Marie Laveau herself appears in legal documents, baptismal records, property records, and eyewitness accounts. She was not a myth. She was a recorded historical figure whose spiritual authority was recognized across race, class, and social boundaries. While voodoo was the public face, hoodoo, root work, and conjure were the everyday medicine. And the archives are full of it. In the Works Progress Administration interviews, the WPA, the Works Progress Administration interviews of the early 1930s, elders described how to make a protection gree, how to cure fever with roots and prayer, how to fix a house so no enemy could cross the threshold, how to read signs, dreams, and omens, how to work with the spirits of the dead. And these interviews are some of the most detailed, respectful, and authentic accounts ever recorded, straight from the mouths of Black New Orleanians who lived the tradition before commercialization, before tourism, before the world tried to rename our birthright. Court records from the 1800s and early 1900s show cases involving conjure doctors hired to settle disputes, root workers called to heal injuries, gree bags confiscated by police, testimonies about spells, powders, and charms. These are not legends, beloved. These are documents stamped, signed, and preserved. Then there is the St. John's Eve ceremonies, one of the most consistently documented traditions in New Orleans is the St. John's Eve ritual, on the banks of Bayou St. John. Newspapers from the 1800s describe bonfires burning along the water, women in white dancing in circles, offerings placed in the bayou, priests and priestesses leading prayers, and hundreds, sometimes thousands of participants, Black, Cherokee, white, free people of color, all together. Police reports confirm the same. Travelers' journals confirm the same. Even church records mention attempts to stop the gatherings and failing. The city could not suppress what the people needed. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, hoodoo and conjure were so widespread that the newspapers began reporting on the business of it. Bones and bottles, the same tools we still use today. And yet, even in the face of criminalization, the tradition survived because the people needed it. The people needed healing. They needed justice. They needed protection. They needed power in a world designed to strip them of it. The WPA, Zora Neale Hurston, and the ethnographers played a powerful role in the preservation of these practices, these traditions, and these documents, these receipts, if you will. In the 1920s and 1930s, anthropologists and folklorists came to New Orleans to document what they called the voodoo phenomenon. Zora Neale Hurston herself wrote about New Orleans conjure doctors. She recorded rituals, interviews, and firsthand accounts. She described the power of the root workers, the precision of their craft, and the seriousness of their training. Other ethnographers documented initiation rites, healing ceremonies, spirit possession, the use of herbs, roots, and minerals, and the role of ancestors in daily life. The works remain some of the most important written records of African American spiritual practice in the United States. And I would like to add proudly that Brother Joshua and I have one of the first modern documented and recorded voodoo ceremonies and rituals documented and showcased by way of the Ashe Cultural Arts Center and a very well-known famous Haitian photographer whose name right now escapes me. Please forgive me, brother. When I remember your name, I'll call it out. But we certainly have a well-documented ceremonial presence here in the city. So the tradition lives. The tradition lives through Elder Reggie and Shrine of the White Cloth. And so when we talk about voodoo, hoodoo, root work, and conjure in New Orleans, we are not talking about superstition. We are not talking about fantasy. We are talking about a documented, recorded, historic tradition that shaped this city from its foundation. A tradition carried by enslaved Africans, free people of color, Creole families, midwives, healers, musicians, elders, and everyday people who needed spiritual technology to survive. This is not a dead tradition. This is not a museum piece. This is a living, breathing, evolving system, and the archives prove it. So as we move forward and we invite our beloved co-host panelists to unmute and join this conversation, tonight as we gather in this shared sacred space, in this city where the ancestors still walk the streets, let us remember we are not practicing something new. We are continuing something documented, something recorded, something proven, and something that is ours. New Orleans voodoo, hoodoo, root work, and conjure are not mysteries. They are history. They are culture. They are inheritance. and they are alive. Ayibobo, Asheo, and Amen. And we again invite our beloved panelists, co-hosts, the Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez, to share your experiences, your stories, your tellings of the spirits of New Orleans, old and new. Brother Shahid Ali, when you're ready, please come in with your questions, comments. Our beloved brother Joshua Nolan Tanner, please unmute and come on in. Elder Reggie Green Soap, please do join the conversation. And brother Tyson Allen Horn, please unmute and come on in. And those in our live chats, Facebook pages, profiles, our Instagram, you can always type your questions, comments live in the chat. I'll do my best to read them and have them answered live on air. All is truly and indeed a blessing. What say you this evening?
Hello, everyone out there listening, audience and on the platform.
Yes. Hello.
I don't pretty much.
You did.
I know in my household, I mean, it's something. It's done every day. They say ritual is something that you do repeatedly, but I do it with such great ease. Half the time, I don't even realize I'm doing it until after I think about it. It's alive and well in Louisiana, especially some parts of Louisiana, like New Orleans, where it's daily. It's alive and well. It's living history. We are living history. At least I am in my house. What say you, Elder Reggie?
Thank you, Sister Tony, and everyone in the collective audience and on all platforms. Divine Prince, always a nice program. What I wanted to add, that Divine Prince so eloquently put his footprint on some of the historical stuff of New Orleans. I want to add something to it because this is where I see where I had landed even before I moved into the ATRs, and it falls under spiritualism. And I have several books, but I just want to read one little chapter from the book, please, and then I could put it in perspective where I'm trying to go with this. Richly detailed and completely fascinated, this book tells the story of Afro-Creole spiritualist Circle Harmonique of New Orleans, during and after the Civil War. No one before Emily Susan Clark has given a portrayal of a spiritual world of educated and political active men in the circle, and no other religious historian has connected that world to the development of the 19th century culture and politics in the way that Clark accomplished here. And the reason I bring that in, we know of what's called the Burnt Over District in New York. And they say in 1848, that was the rise of spiritualism. But when you start putting in African American names into spiritualism, it's going to always lead you back to New Orleans. Because of the Circle Harmonique, these group of men for over 20 plus years, they held seances before the Civil War, and after the Civil War ended, they continued to hold seance, which allowed people to speak to the relative that passed over. But also, a lot of these men was also documented voodoo practitioners going backwards from New Orleans to Haiti or to Cuba and coming back to New Orleans. And I wanted to add that part of it because when Mother Leafy Anderson brings her church to New Orleans, she was bringing spiritualism as the foundation to the church. And then she incorporated all the hoodoo and voodoo that New Orleans had into the church system, which gives us the New Orleans spiritual church. And that's what I wanted to add tonight. Brother Tyson, anything?
Well, Elder Reggie, you kind of laid the the foundation for the question that I wanted to talk about. And when Divine Prince did his intro, at first coming into the show tonight, I wasn't really sure of what I wanted to, add to or talk about in reference to it. But somehow or another, Mother Catherine Seals, just kind of like, like say, hey, talk about me. And I don't know how that's coming, but I definitely wanted to see if you would elaborate on her, because we know a lot of the spirits of New Orleans, that the Marie Laveau's and things like that, but she's somebody that did a lot. And, I don't know enough to speak authoritatively about her just yet, but I know that I recognize her, and I was hoping that you could talk about her just a little bit.
Please,
Yeah, just a
Elder
little
Reggie,
bit.
do respond to that. And I also just want to let everyone know we are going to go through quite a list as we move forward this week in very distinct and specific spirits as we move forward in the conversation. But I think it's most appropriate that Elder Reggie responds right now to Brother Tyson's question.
Thank you, Brother Tyson, for the question. So I tie it in this way. I was born and raised in the Lower Ninth Ward, and Mother Catherine Seal Church was in the Lower Ninth Ward from the mid-20s going into the 30s. So some of my relatives actually attended those services. They was a part of that because they never left that area from down in the Lower Ninth Ward. And I used to hear stories and everything. And then in our spiritual churches, we always carried like a halo picture of Mother Leafy Anderson. So this was something I was born and raised into, but I just took it as an everyday occurrence. And what those ladies did do, they did tap into spiritualism, both of them. They hid it through the church, but they was raising spirit guides, such as Black Hawk, Aunt Peggy, Uncle John. They was raising spirit guides, and the spirit guides was humans that had passed on, but that needed a vessel to talk with. So basically, Mother Leafy Anderson and Mother Catherine Seals are what we call today mediums. There's several mediums you may see that's popular on TV and things of that nature, but at their core, there was mediums, but they had church iconography and things of that nature to hide it, because as Divine Prince mentioned earlier, you would get arrested. Anything Black people was doing that was not part of the norm, the police, others ratted on them, and you would get arrested and harassed. So they tried to synchronize it and hide it. But at the core of what they was doing was spiritualism.
I think too, it's important to note that a part of the cover, I would say, was the national obsession with seances and spiritualism at that time. It was even said that Abraham Lincoln and his wife participated commonly in seances, and that he may have very well been influenced to some degree in some of his decision making based on those practices. So it may have created a space where we could, sort of do our thing in our communities without much disturbance or fanfare during that particular period of time in history that furthered sort of the growth and development of spiritual churches, but also spirit practices within our communities. I grew up in a spiritualist church in the DMV, the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. And I had family who were members of and participated in Black spiritualist churches in the Chicago area, which still to this day plays a prominent role in Black religion across the board. So, and as we move forward in the week, as I suggested, and Elder Reggie began to name some of the spirit guides, some of the spirit deities, some of the ascended ancestors like Marie Laveau, who indeed was not a deity or a god or a Loa, but went on to be served, placated, petitioned, much like we do other deities and other spirits in other systems and other traditions. So we will cover who exactly these spirits are as we continue to move this topic forward throughout the week.
Appreciate that.
I would like to add something too. Good evening, everybody. I just want everybody to understand that we're talking about New Orleans. We're talking about a history that's very ancient, and we're talking about a culture and a lifestyle that has never left and has been here, as you know, Divine Prince mentioned earlier, in terms of the voodoo presence that it's still alive and it's still going. And we are a representation of that here on this panel, and we do it with respect and we do it with honor. And I want to say also that we have to understand that, like New Orleans is in the Mississippi River. We talk about spirits, we're talking about spirituality, we're talking about the connection of life, root work, the medicine, the ground that we stand on and that we are upon right now. Um, at one point, this land was called something, or this city was called something different. It had a different name. It was addressed by different peoples from all different parts of the world. It's always been a trade area where people of this of this land and of this place would come to trade goods, to meet off the river, off the banks of the river, and as I'm addressing on New Orleans International Voodoo Day with the French market, I will address more about that there. But we it comes from a very ancient connection with New Orleans, America, South, North, East, and West, and also throughout the Caribbean. So in terms of New Orleans and its language, its lifestyles, it's always been resilient. It's always been of for the people and by the people, in terms of its organization, in terms of its structure, in terms of how we live our lives and how these things pass down. So, and I'm saying this because of the fact that you see a lot of people that wants to jump into things and get involved in things and not want to unite with people in order to gather their information and gather their knowledge and gather their know-how. And that's not how it's done. It's an experience tradition that you have to actually operate within. As Tony Val mentioned, she said she does it and does it without even thinking she's doing it. And she goes back and think about what she did today. And she's like, oh, wow, I didn't know I did that. It's in our nature. And that's a part of our resilience. It's part of our protection. It's part of our love. It's part of our music. It's part of our heritage, and it's sacred. And yeah, that's what I would like to share today. That's all.
Shay.
Brother Josh brought up the French Quarter, which made me think of something. A few years ago, I worked at the Monteleone Hotel, and right behind the Monteleone Hotel is Exchange Alley. The street behind it, the employee entrance, and my security office was right there at Exchange Alley. The next building behind the Monteleone on Exchange Alley were the slave pens where they kept the enslaved people before sending them to auction at the various locations that they did. The Monteleone used that building. It's the original frame. They've remodeled it, of course, over the years. Besides the slave pens, it also had cattle pens, because it's a quite long building. It's long. It goes like a whole block behind the Monteleone, and it crossed the street, and then it continues on. And every day I had to walk through Exchange Alley with the knowledge of what went on in the building that was to the right of me. And it's just an experience. I mean, I would sit out in the alley on a break and just stare at that building. And sometime I would get teared up just thinking about it, depending on my mood for the day, that they didn't tear it down, that they kept it and just remodeled it. And the dirt under that floor, our ancestors bled and sweat and cried on waiting to go to market. And that was a hard thing for me back in those days because, like I said, I had the knowledge of what it was. And everybody I ran into that came and sat outside to smoke, I made sure I schooled them on what that building actually was, on what that building used to be. So I just had that thought and want to share it with y'all.
That's really interesting, Sister Tony. I just have one more question I want to throw in there. Elder Reggie, Divine Prince, are there ceremonies, and I know we're going to talk about individuals' names and so forth, but are there ceremonies done in New Orleans and in and around the New Orleans area for the fallen ancestors who we don't know their names, like all of the people that went through the area that Sister Tony Bauer was just talking about, just the amount of people that were brought over that who were enslaved and who suffered, but we will never know their names or never know who exactly they were. Is there something like, I know we always pour libations for the ancestors, but is there a specific one for the unknown names?
Well, we acknowledge the unknown slave at St. Augustine Church here in Treme. And it is one of the stops on our procession on New Orleans International Vodou Day. And that is a place where the community, various members of the community, various organizations, certainly the Black masking cultural groups, all make that a major stop, whether it be a second line or a procession for any other communal event. We do indeed have a place of monument, if you will, for acknowledgement of the tombs of the tombs of unknown, unnamed. But we also do pour libation and often will provide some sort of offering there to honor and acknowledge them. But we all, certainly Elder Reggie and I, to some degree, acknowledge ancestors known and unknown in our regular routine practices and ritual obligations, but certainly in the feeding and acknowledgement of the ancestors, it's sort of second nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm on social media a lot on different platforms, and I see a lot of visitors who come here. That's one of their stops that they take pictures and they video themselves there and try to explain what it is and stuff. So it's a very popular stop here in the city when people visit here.
Yeah. What I like to add, Brother Tyson, to the question that you asked, I was a part of a group in the '90s, but all the elders, they passed on to the next life now, the ancestors, and we used to go around to certain locations and do the libation and say prayers and call names of remembrance. In fact, I had an imprint on what we call now the Ma'afa. I was part of the first Ma'afa. I, but I was a part of a collective group that was doing the work around it. But then when some of those elders passed off, work became overload for me and things just kind of went away. But we are reviving it. But what I want to say, we are not the only one. There's others around the city are doing things too. And we are not privileged to know what everyone is doing. So we can't really speak on it. But I don't believe there was a period in time where this type spiritual work had laid dormant. We just not sure who's doing what.
Yeah, that's true. And this, especially in this area used to be known as Bobonka, which was actually a Choctaw name for
Mm-hmm.
place of many tongues. So they named it that. The Choctaws, the American Indians that was originally from this Gulf region, and I'm part that myself. And that is speaking of the place of gathering of people of many tongues. They used to trade, and they had a trade language that was sign language that they utilized,
Mm-hmm.
which is the first universal language anybody uses, even a baby does when they come into this world. So there is this place, like I said before, this place is very ancient. This place has many different people have come through here with many different tongues, many different cultures, and that's the reason why New Orleans is the way it is, and why New Orleans and the culture here is not. It's you can't replace it. You can't do anything to it. It continues to forward and move uh, through time because of the fact that it has um, is protected through lineage. Is protected through storytelling and through families that's been here and traditions that we hold, and as we represent here at here on this podcast. So we don't claim to know it all. I'm gonna say that also, but we know that in terms of
Mhm.
spirituality and the history of this place in terms of spirituality, it's something that we still learning now. It's going to continue to grow
Mhm.
beyond us. So, um, yeah, I would like to share. That's what I would like to share.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Greetings, everyone. Joshua, you said that that the area, the Choctaw were there. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
okay? Because that's my heritage. Of Mississippi Choctaw Mound Builders.
yes, the mound builders. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I mean, in terms of this river, this Mississippi River is a very old river. It's very ancient, and like we know about the Nile, we know how the Nile civilization and their the civilization that is connected with I mean with the Nile. But there is a lot of that's not told about the Mississippi Mound network of their connection to the world before the colonists came here and before slavery. There's tons of things you can read up on it if you do your research
Yeah.
of the trade of certain goods, buffalo, certain stones, and that's traveled up and down the Mississippi River all the way down to South America, all the way to into the Caribbean. Um, there is a lot that is not known about that
Mm.
or talked about so much in a way where it's talked within our own circles, but it's not talked about so much within history in terms of our typical concepts of history that we learn in school, unless you're studying a specific thing like anthropology or
Yeah.
that actually digs up the dirt and finds out what's happening, and look at soil samples and look at the history of river systems and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
Mississippi River is older than the Nile and the Amazon. A lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah. And
So
that's why this platform is uh is really needed. Greetings to everyone and everyone who's listening. But that's why this platform is powerful, because it's an awakening taking place, and it's in our bloodline. It vibrates in our DNA, with the voodoo and hoodoo and all of that, and it's an awakening taking place right now. And so platforms like this is very, very powerful. This is like an underground. It's how can I say, this is needed because people are waking up and they need guidance in this because they can feel it. I can feel it.
And we need to really study, because from my research, I'm discovering that there are a lot of people quietly, anthropologists, historians, still every day discovering, they study in this city quiet as it kept. All the people you see walking
yeah,
down the streets and pointing at things and taking pictures, a lot of them are not tourists. They
yeah,
are actually studying. They are seeing, the connection that this city had to so many other cultures and places that converged here, and they're deciphering them. They're not telling us right off the bat out open. Like I say, I do a lot of research and I stumble upon this stuff,
Mm.
and I like to share different things from time to time that I find. Every time I find something about some new discovery of some culture in New Orleans, I post it on my Black New Orleans Then and Now page. That's strictly New Orleans Black history. What's going on then in the history making that's being made now. Because once today is over with, it's history. And something we find out today is history tomorrow. So, you know, we have to be diligent. You never stop learning. You never stop learning. And when you hear somebody saying something about the area that you're not familiar with, before you challenge that person, do your research on that subject, because like the brother said, we don't know everything. But a lot of people who don't know everything be the first ones to challenge somebody, telling them something they never heard of. So the thing I can do is say it's a learning process, and we never stop learning from the day we are born until the day we are die. The day we are born, we learn about birth and life. The day we die, we learn about death and dying. So on those two important days, we learn. And all in between, we learn.
That's
it.
That's
And
it.
with that, we
everyone.
look forward to meeting you here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time on a social media platform near you, or by way of our QR code, which can be found in the upper left corner of your screen, the StreamYard QR code with the little ducky head in the middle. Or you can use our URL and join us on panel. And certainly we're thankful for Love 1901 for joining us again tonight. Nina Lloyd, we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Our beloved community member and initiated member of the Source, Jeff Austin, we certainly appreciate you. Daniel Neal, our faithful community member, we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Overseer T. Hudson, thank you for your continued support. Dark Dominance 911, greetings and salutations to you and yours. Ray Alexander, we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Sean John Wynn, we certainly appreciate you joining us this evening. And we're always thankful for those who join us by way of our various Facebook pages, groups, and profiles, our local, national, and international listenership by way of LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, and always thankful for our IG, Instagram listenership and participants. Block Ricky, we certainly do appreciate you for joining us. Roman Emperador 18, thank you for joining us this evening. PTSD and what helped me, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Me God O, thank you for joining us this evening. Clave Living, we certainly appreciate you. Pat Wynn, thank you for joining us. Any Massage, we're grateful for your continued support and participation. Greetings to you and yours, Demario the artist. We look forward to seeing you in May for the 3rd annual International New Orleans Voodoo Day. Sinbad joined us this evening. Thank you so much. Phoenix F. Cardis, we certainly appreciate you. And the beloved Michelle Gibson for life. Greetings to you and yours, beloved. Can't wait to hug your neck. We certainly appreciate you joining us tonight. And Blooms is coming 111 and T-May 21. And again, we invite you to join us again on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we continue this ongoing series of conversations about the spirit of New Orleans, the spirits of New Orleans, old, present, and new. And I will be turning the mic over to our beloved Elder Reggie for our closing announcements, closing commentary, and our benediction. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Thank you kindly, Elder Reggie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Divine Prince. We have a GoFundMe, New Orleans International Voodoo Day, New Orleans GoFundMe. Please go to GoFundMe.me/Prince-Hair-12 February. Continue to support this event, please. Our next new moon ritual ceremony and ritual application is June 14, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Location 710 Cluid Street. It's a ritual of spiritual warfare, ceremonial gathering. It occurs with the moon in Gemini. Before I read Lest We Forget, I just want to share one thing with the permission of Divine Prince. And as Divine Prince laid out this week, we're going to be doing Voodoo Hoodoo 101. And I just want to put a little encapsulation on hoodoo, which ties in today's conversation. Enslaved Africans adopted their ancestral knowledge by incorporating Native American herbalism and European folk magic, creating a uniquely syncretic practice. Over time, hoodoo also integrated Christian elements, especially the Bible, Psalms, which are often recited and carried as spiritual tools for power and protection. And the reason I wanted to bring that up as we unpack and build out for the rest of the week, we want to give perspective on what hoodoo is and not leave no one off the table, because it is an amalgamation of all the peoples that was here that came together and formed a unique medicine. With that, I say, lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. Wow. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Good night, everyone. We love you all, and we'll be back tomorrow night with more instructions.
Night, everyone. Ashe.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Odabo.
Travail, map travail yo. Zaka mede map travail avec ou tande. Di travail, map travail yo. Cousin Zaka map travail avec ou tande. Couteau di gom nan men, ja kout mwen sou do, map sekle. Couteau di gom nan men, ja kout mwen sou do, map sekle. Joum jwen un nom, lale. Joum pran yon nom, lale kite, mwoy demen, ma jwen yon loto. M'di travail, map travail yo. Cousin Zaka map travail avec ou tande. Travail, map travail yo. Zaka mede map travail avec ou tande. Couteau di gom nan men, dia kout mwen sou do, map sekle. Couteau di gom nan men, dia kout mwen sou do, map sekle. Joum jwen un nom, lale. Joum pran un nom, lale kite, mwoy demen, ma jwen yon loto. Demen, ma jwen yon loto. Demen, ma jwen yon loto. Di cousin, ma jwen yon loto. Yes, ça nous dit pour ça. Nous va aider me chanter, non, pas attendez nous, non. Nous pral dire ça dans TikTok. C'est ça. Alors, à très bientôt. Fait bon, n'est-ce pas? Moi, remène en pile. OK.
Allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy, and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yeah, I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.